What is up, guys? I decided I was going to do a quick video on how to recover any of the Valances and any fabric covered things inside of your RV that you may want to recover, because let's face it, guys, the 90s was okay, the 80s was awesome, but some of the materials that we used for things back then were hideous. And over time it turns yellow and just gets wear and tear, and you might want to just replace it. And instead of going to a upholstery shop where they may charge you a lot of money, you could actually do it yourself at home. And just for instance, I want to show you this. This is actually a Valance that I personally recovered. And as you can see, I got a lodge type pattern. I bought the material online. I'll put a link in the description. And I wrapped that, and then the sides are just a brown type vinyl. It looks really good, though. Honestly, it looks really good. So today, what we're going to be covering is going to be this guy here. This actually goes above our bed in the bedroom. It's just kind of a cover that goes up underneath the cabinets to just add a little bit of a decorative look to the bottom of the cabinets and cover up the transition from that to the wall. I got a little bit of material left over from doing all the Valances. We're going to cover this piece, is going to be a brown, and then this piece under here, this is going to be that lodge print. And I think it'll look really good, but I wanted to take you guys along and just give you an idea of how to do it. I'm sure there's multiple ways of doing it. So the only reason I have the skills that I have of covering things, like years and years ago, when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I worked in an upholstery shop, and I learned how to do a little bit of upholstery work. I definitely don't know how to use a sewing machine and sew anything. This is about as far as my expertise goes on covering anything. But I just figured I'd show you guys how I do it, and maybe you can use that in the future for your projects. Hey, I wanted to show you guys how I cut the pattern out and before I wrap these. If you guys can see anything, this particular pattern is pretty busy. It's got a lot of stuff going on here. So what I want to do is I just want to pick one pattern, since the pattern runs back and forth this way. And when I cut this, I want my pattern, I want to pick one of these patterns, because if I do it the other way, then we're going to have the patterns running in the wrong direction, and obviously we don't want that. So what I did is I picked one of the patterns out. It's the bear, and the reason I picked that one out is because this particular pattern is a little bit smaller than all the rest of them, so I think I can get it to mostly fit onto this thin strip. And when you go to cut your pattern out, instead of using tape measures or anything like that, I don't ever use them. You can just do a rough cut. I use a pair of scissors, or you could use a razor blade. I use scissors, I get a better cut on it. And just use the natural lines on the particular pattern. If you look, you can see there's a line right there. If you follow it down, there's a line all the way down through there. So when we put this on here to cut it, what we need to do is line it up there. Look here, we're going to line it up there. And we go down to our next pattern part, we line it up there. And we're going to go down. And we just do the same thing all the way down. So when we cut it, we're going to end up with a straight line, or at least it will be within the parameters we need in order to wrap it correctly and get the whole pattern that we want on there. I just used a regular pair of fabric scissors. You want to leave yourself with enough on each end to wrap it, and you want to leave yourself with enough on each side to wrap it also. Now I've got way more than I really need down here, but it is what it is. It's just how the pattern fell, so there's going to be some waste. I hate that. I don't like the fact there's going to be waste, but at the end of the day, there's really nothing I can do about it. So I always cut off just a little bit more than what I think I'm going to need. That way we don't end up with a problem when we go to wrap it. We can always cut the excess off later on. And that's all there is to cutting your pattern. Alright guys, these are the products and the tools that I use to put these Valances together. First off, you're going to need a high-tack adhesive spray. The reason for this is it's what's going to keep your fabric in place when you staple it on, and it also allows you to stretch it and it stays in that position, so over time your fabric doesn't wrinkle up, because it will if you don't put that under there. And as you can see, if whatever you're recovering doesn't have any padding on it, I would find some type of padding at a craft store or something to wrap it in. The reason for this is it just creates a nice edge, and you know, if you would bump up against it, it's just not a hard surface. It looks better if you have a padding underneath of it. And these are the staples. I just use staples and a pneumatic staple gun to tack all of my edges down. Always make sure when you buy your staples, check and see what the thinnest part of your project is. Make sure your staples don't go all the way through it, because obviously if it does, it's going to come out the other side, and that's going to make a problem for you. And really that's all there is to it. Now it's just taking the time, spraying both of these down and getting them pulled tight, and then stapling them. Alright, now if you can see this, this is what it looks like now. Wrapped. That's all there is to it. It's all wrapped. Now all we have to do is put our bead across the top like we had before. And this is the rope that I pulled out of there. What this is this basically you take your fabric and you wrap it around this. And then it makes your decorative piece to go across the top of here on the edge of whatever you're wanting to put it on. And there you go. I stapled that bead into the fabric over the top of it.